Hi all and welcome to a new video, another Cheltenham preview here, and in this video we are going to be covering the handicaps. So all 10 handicaps from the festival. I'm going to have a go at trying to find maybe a few horses that I hope will A, run, B, run well, and C, hopefully win. I don't know whether that's going to be possible or not. My record of festival handicaps is not great, as I suspect it's not great for many people. It is difficult. I had a few of them last year though. Tully East and the Close Brothers, Super Sunday and Arctic Fire were all three nice priced winners for me last year. But I do sense there was a hint of luck to that. There always is with these handicaps. You don't really know who's going to get in, who's going to win. There's a lot to be desired anyway. But we're going to crack on because there are 10 races to get through. I'm just going to give maybe one, maybe a couple of shouts for each race. Some of them I have stronger opinions than others, so I'll just let that be known before we get into it. Starting off on the first day with the Ultima Handicap Chase, a grade 3 over 3 miles and a furlong. Don't have much of a say in this, if I'm being honest. I do think I'm trying to stay away from the ones that everyone kind of knows of handicapping wise, but that being said, sometimes they are the ones that really you do think are going to run the big races. There's a reason why they're being tipped up. However, I think in this race, the betting wouldn't suggest it, but the Single Farm Payment is going slightly under the radar here. He's been given a weight of 10-12 or something. He's number 33. I reckon he'll get in. A fair few of these will come out. And I think he'll run a big race. He came second in this race last year to Ultima 2. He actually looked like he was going to win that race. Kind of got out-battled a bit up the hill. He's a bit of a quirky sort. Needs to be delivered late. But the good ground is the key to him. And as you'll find with a lot of these handicaps, which is why I'm not liking the snow that's around in Ireland and England at the moment, but I am favouring horses that will probably want that better spring ground. And the Single Farm Payment's one of them. He ran a poor race last time out, but that was up at grade 2 level behind Definitely Red. He was pulled up in that time after making a bad mistake. I'll forgive him that run. And if you do forgive him that run, he's got very good chances here. And at 10-1, he's not a bad little bet. Also in this race, I like Keeper Hill for Warren Greatrix. I'm not quite sure whether he's going to run in the race or not. I suppose he could run in one of the novice races. He is a novice. Here at 16-1. He's number 39 on your card, so he's likely to get in, because I don't think a few of these in the top 20 or so are going to run. But he does need a fair few to come out, I will admit that. But 2 starts ago, he did win a grade 2 over fences. As a novice, which is a very good form, beating Brackor Door, who went on to finish 4th in the Ladbrokes Trophy. He fell last time out, I think it was at Musselburgh, but I'm not sure. He's still going okay that day. And if you can forgive him that fall, perhaps he jumps a bit sounder. 16-1 could be a nice enough price here. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs and buts about him, because he has to get in. You would prefer him to have not come in off a fall, especially in a competitive handicap, and perhaps he won't show the nous perhaps needed to win one of these races, but I think he's not a bad little shout at 16-1. On to the Close Brothers Novice Handicap Chase to finish the first day, won last year by Tully East, obviously. We've got there's 2 horses in here that have been very well backed, and that's the Plotting Shed for Gordon Elliott and Move with the Times for Paul Nicholls. And as much as I can see the sense behind the 2 of them, I'm not going to side with either. And instead I'm going to lay more onto Any Second Now here for Ted Walsh at 10-1. I think this is his target. 2.5 miles probably will suit. He's been knocking his head off a very, very hard brick wall in trying to face horses like Footpad and Petit Mouchoir at 2 miles as a novice in Ireland. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And he's won some admirable races, even though being beat quite easily by these horses. There's no disgrace in finishing 2nd to Footpad or 3rd to Footpad and Petit Mouchoir like he did last time. I think the 2-4 will suit. I think they like him on good ground, and he could run a big race here. He's at 10-1 third fave. Also in here, I really like Peregrine Run for Peter Fahey at 16-1, a small Irish trainer, but he knows the time of day, does Peter. He knows how to plot one of these horses for a nice enough push for a decent pot. Peregrine Run hasn't been seen for quite a while, but he was quite well back last year. They thought he'd run a big race in the Coral Cup. He didn't do so in the end. He kind of flopped, but that was after a pretty tough season. This time round, they did a lot of his running over the summer and into the autumn, and has been not seen since. So you do have to take it on trust he'll be okay, but you know he likes good ground, and if good ground comes up at 16 to 1, I think he's a very, very good chance here, because he's a high enough quality horse. He won a grade 2 over hurdles, remember, at Cheltenham as a novice. So therefore, perhaps he's worth something. 16 to 1, a good price. Although I do concede to Plotting Shed and Move with the Times do seem feasibly handicapped and do seem to be laid out for this race, especially Move with the Times, who I like the form of. We then move on to the Coral Cup. Coral Cup's a very odd race. I'm not sure about William Henry. Jenkins is a bit of a, you've got to get him right on the right day. Instead, as much as he's number 2, so he's carrying almost top weight here, if he runs, I don't know whether he'll run in this or he'll run in the Coral Cup or the County, but BLEU ROUGE here I think has got a big chance at 14 to 1. He'd probably be my EACHWAY bet for the festival in whatever handicap he turns up in. And I'll tell you why, he's been running some nice enough races the last 2 times. Came 4th in the, what's it called now, the Ladbroke Hurdle, I think at Ascot, where he was staying on all the time over 2 miles. And again, in the 2 mile Betfair Hurdle, he was perhaps beaten for a little bit of pace by Kalashnikov in the last couple of 100 strides. He did look that race like he was about to pick up Kalashnikov, and I think he might have on better ground. He's a very talented horse, BLEU ROUGE. He's a grade 1 novice hurdle winner. He won the Deloitte novice, which is very good form in the book. His chase campaign last year was absolutely horrendous, but he's come back this year over in handicap hurdles and is shaped a lot better. And I do see him running a very similar race to a very similar type horse in Blazer, who did, I think, 2 years ago when he finished 4th in the Coral Cup. I liked him each way, and I'm going to like BLEU ROUGE here each way as well. I know there seems to be a lot of talk on your one LeBroy, I think, in this one, to run a big race. He's in there at 16 to 1. You might want to pop on him. He wouldn't quite be for me. I don't know whether they're going to run or not. This is very difficult to know whether they're going to run. But I wouldn't sway anyone away from backing either Burbank or Brelade each way in this race. Burbank for Nicky Henderson, Brelade for Gordon Elliott. Both ran in last year's Neptune Novice Hurdle, now the Ballymore, which has got good form in the book. Willoughby Court, a lot of people liked him for the JLT. Unfortunately, he has been ruled out. Neon Wolf, RIP Neon Wolf, he looked a star. Unfortunately, was beaten in the Cheltenham Festival, but he did look like he'd be a fantastic chaser in time. So it's not a bad little race, that. And Kemboy has come out. He was 4th in that race. He's turned into not a bad novice chaser. Both Burbank and Brelade have been chasing, both being very underwhelming. I think Burbank only ran once at Ludlow and was a big flop. Brelade's now, I think, a 6-race maiden over fences. But they'd be both returning to hurdles here. At 20 to 1 and 25 to 1, if they were to anyway come close to what they ran last year in the Neptune, they'd have big chances here in the Coral Cup. It is a handicap after all. Then the Fred Winter, I've got 1 or 2 plays here. My big one here is Act of Valour for Paul Nicholls. I wouldn't be the first, I'm not a big fan of Paul Nicholls, I'm not going to lie, but I think Act of Valour has got very, very good credentials for this race, and Paul Nicholls is a master in the Fred Winter. He won very impressively, a former flat horse in Ireland for Michael O'Callaghan. He was a good horse on the flat, and he finished first in Newcastle on his hurdling debut and showed a really good aptitude for it. He bombed out next time out, I think, at Doncaster on terrible conditions, and then was second last time to We Have a Dream. So if you think We Have a Dream has a chance in the Triumph, you probably think this guy's got a good chance in the Fred Winter, or you'd like to hope so anyway. It would be a nice boost to We Have a Dream for the Triumph. I do think he could well suit this race. I think the end-to-end gallop that's pretty much guaranteed in all these Cheltenham races will suit, and Act of Valour could run a big race at 12s. Alongside that, if he runs, this is whether he doesn't get swayed to the Triumph or not, but Look My Way at 20 to 1 for John Quinn, I think is a fantastic bet. Came second to back to Valour in that race at Newcastle, then went on to win next time out, and then after that ran against Apple's Shakira at Cheltenham and really gave Apple's Shakira a massive scare at 1-9. Apple's Shakira had to find and find and find to eventually get away from Look My Way, who looked to have him cooked at that stage. If he'd gotten a few lengths closer, we could be thinking of him as a Triumph Hurdle horse. Therefore, I think he's slightly slipped under the radar here. He's not unfeasibly handicapped, and he could run a big race at 20s. On to the third day. We're going to quickly get through these because the Pertemps, who the hell is going to win the Pertemps? I don't know. Glen Lowe, I think, has got a big chance here. I know that's not very original at 8-1. I do think he's got a good chance. I think there were a few in here. I'm trying to remember. The Mighty Dawn at 20-1, I think, is a decent enough each way bet. It's been second 3 times in a row now, but it does seem to be progressing along the way. And Nick Gifford, he's got a good chance in Did They Leave You Out too in the Champion Bumper the previous day. Imagine if Nick Gifford, such a small trainer, could have a Cheltenham Festival double. It does seem unlikely, but there's still a chance. The Mighty John's been running some really consistent races, and I wouldn't put anyone off thinking he could run another big race here at 20-1. Also, probably almost a stronger chance. Well, that's a ballsy statement, but Protect Flow? I don't know whether that's how you pronounce it properly, for Nicky Henderson and JP McManus. Came over last year and looked quite a handy juvenile, winning his first 2 races. But it kind of has gone all wrong since. Or was it 2 years ago? It might have been 2 years ago when he had that. When he came over. No, who knows? He came over either last year or 2 years ago. He looked quite a useful juvenile. But then he came out novice chasing last year, and it's all gone wrong. He just doesn't seem to like the novice chasing. He's therefore been dropped back to hurdles, and since then won a Pertemps qualifier at Wincanton on Boxing Day to the Mighty Dawn, and then, no, I don't think it was to the Mighty Dawn, but then was third next time out in another Pertemps qualifier behind the Mighty Dawn. I think that's what it was. At Wincanton he beat Watt, who's also quite fancied for this race. So it's not bad form lines here, and I think he's a slightly forgotten horse. I'm not sure whether he's forgotten because he's not going to run, and maybe I've missed a trick. That could easily be the case, because I don't know the scene, really. But I think Protect the Flow here could well outrun the 20-5-1 odds if he goes to post. All of these, if you're backing them non-win or no bet, you kind of might as well at the price, because if they turn up, then you've got a lively enough each way shout, and I don't think if Protect the Flow turns up for the Pertemps, I don't think he'll be 25-1. I think he could well be 16-1 or 15 or 14-1 even. Then we've got the Brown Advisory Plate, a race that has been quite good to me over the past few years, tipping up Road to Respect last year each way. This is my handicap fancy of the festival. It's not the most it's not the best, not the most original idea you'll ever see, but I thought from the start of the year Tully East was going to win this race, and 2 races on in this year I still think that. I think he's a handicapping certainty if he stays on his feet and it comes up good ground. Those are his 2 stipulations. He's ran 2 mighty races this year, coming 6th in the Paddy Power at Cheltenham on ground he didn't like over 2.5, and then dropping back to 2-1 at Leopardstown, which is an inadequate trip. Again, another great race, coming 3rd. I think he's got a great chance. If you want one at a price there, I've always been a big fan of Liz Doyle's Last Goodbye at 16-1. Tipped him up in the Dublin Racing Festival for the Chanel Pharma Handicap Chase, won at a hack canter, winning by 9 lengths, finding his feet that day, finally getting things right over fences. If you remember correctly, he came 5th last year in the Close Brothers Novice Handicap, but he was denied a clear run in the straight there and could have finished closer. I don't think he would have won, but he could have finished 4th, perhaps 3rd, if he'd gotten a clearer run, and therefore he must represent value at 16s here if he can replicate what he showed at Leopardstown last time. We've then got the Kim Muir. I don't know whether they're going to run Maldini or not. I think if Maldini runs in this, I think he's got a good chance. If he runs in the 4-miler, I think he's got a good chance. I've a big feeling that Maldini will eventually win one of these big pots, and this could be the race. He's not badly handicapped here, and at 8-1, he could run a big race if he runs in it, but he could run in the 4-miler. Therefore, perhaps you want somebody more sure that he's going to run. Sugar Baron most definitely is. He's a very funny horse. He seems to go to big flat spots, but he's run on twice so gamely in the final strides in his last 2 runs. Once at Cheltenham at the November meeting, when flying from the clouds to come second to What a Moment with Pick a Mix back in third, and then last time at Sandown over 3-5, flying home to just be denied by Ben Benz. I think if he can just keep close enough, you know he's got the staying capabilities to power up that hill and potentially sneak it at 14s. Interestingly enough, I hadn't known he'd had a switch of stables, but Abolitionist is in here at 20-1 top weight for Dr. Richard Newland. He was with Elmarie Holt. Don't really know why he's left Elmarie Holt, but that's for another day. He won the Leinster National last year at Naas, and I remember being at that meeting, and he won it really, really well. And he was in front of experienced and good Irish handicappers like Uccello Conti. He could run a big race here on stable debut. Top weight perhaps is a negative, but 3 mile 1, Kim Muir, you never know. He could run a big one. Then, final day, we're going to get through these quick enough. We've got the county hurdle, and Max Dynamite, if he can hurdle efficiently, could hack up here. He's thrown in on flat form, like if it was a flat race, he would win by 20 lengths. Can he hurdle? The answer so far has been no. If he can hurdle here, he will win this race at 8-1. And I think your big each way play here is bunk off early at 20-1 for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins has got a great record in this county hurdle. So I think you must treat all of his runners in this race with a lot of respect. Bunk off early being one of them was thought of as a top novice last year when winning a maiden hurdle at Leopardstown, followed by a fantastic second in the Deloitte when pulling like a truck all the way round. Unfortunately, he suffered from a colic at the end of last year and performed very poorly in the Supreme Novice at Cheltenham and in the equivalent of the Supreme Novice at Punchestown. He's come back this year and has had 2 runs over fences, where he came second to Tycoon Prince, no dismerit in that, and then falling at the second last at Gorham Park when looking like he was going to win. But they've obviously thought, actually for this year, we're better off just leaving him be. Let's bring him back to hurdles. We can go back to fences next year. And therefore, he could be thrown in here. If he recovered that Deloitte novice hurdle form at 2 miles, strongly run race, hold on to make the back, 20-1, he could run an absolutely massive race. And it could be a Willie Mullins 1-2, Max Dynamite, bunk off early. Martin Pipe hurdle. Now, the conditional jockeys, I don't think you could be going far wrong seeing what horse James Bone is riding in this, if I'm being honest. He probably holds the key, and he holds more of a key than I know. I think if he runs somebody like a Early Doors, perhaps a Ben Dundee could run well, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't want to lie to you guys, I don't have a clue. Because there's so many horses here that are entered, I don't know whether they're going to run. They're also entered in all the other big handicaps. So the Martin Pipe, at the moment, not a big race for me. James Bowen perhaps holds the key. The Grand Annual, the final race of the festival, won last year by Rock the World. Why couldn't he do it again? I don't know. He's 20-1. Don't really understand it. Again, it all depends on good ground. And good ground for my 2 horses here, both from Jessica Harrington's yard, Rock the World at 20-1 and Don't Touch It at 12-1. Don't Touch It was a Grade 1 winning novice hurdler. He had York Hill, he had brain power all behind him in that novice hurdle. His chase career has been a bit up and down, but he won at the Punchestown Festival last year on that good spring ground and has been underwhelming this year on soft ground, but it could all come back to form. We're not sure. Same at Rock the World. He's obviously been planned for this race once again. He's now in the care or the ownership of JP McManus, and at 20-1 could run another big race. I do respect in that race though, VALOUR has got a good chance because it looks like he's been laid out for it. But it would be Don't Touch It and Rock the World for me in that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys kind of see where I'm coming from. It is difficult, and I must say, I was looking at the Martin Pipe for a good half an hour. I couldn't find anything. Like, I really couldn't. I'm really stumped. For some of the others, I'm a bit stumped. Like, we're 2 weeks out still, so you don't really know what's going to run where. But I've gone with the balance of probabilities, really. I do think, if I was to name my better bets, I think Max Dynamite in the county hurdle, Tully East in the Brown Advisory, and perhaps like a Peregrine run each way in the Close Brothers if it comes up good ground. They're all good ground horses. So that would be my 3 best out of the lot, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did so, give it a like, subscribe, and perhaps comment down below if you enjoyed the video. You know, what are your handicap thoughts? Do you think anyone's a shoe-in that I've absolutely missed? If so, I probably have, because I'm no expert on the game, but I've tried my best to do so. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy punting.